Good afternoon and welcome to Santos on Sports alongside Chris Santos. I am Paul Santos. Yeah, a couple little technical things, but here we are and we are ready to go. As you can see, I got my Bergeron on over here. I'm really getting desperate now because hey, our Boston Bruins are right up against it. So we're going to start with a little hockey talk. We got a couple of special guests coming on shortly. John Sullivan, former coach in New Bedford High School. John Raleigh, longtime coach of UMass Dartmouth, will be joining us in a few minutes. But Chris, what is going on? I know that this team that the Bruins are playing, Columbus, they're tough. They had their way with the Bruins during the regular season, but I didn't expect this. What's going on out there?
Well, this is a very good Carolina Hurricanes hockey team. That's what this is. This is a fast team. This is an aggressive team. As you can see, they get right in your face when they forecheck. They're getting some big hits. They're taking advantage, Paul, of the situations that come to them, whether it's a power play, whether it's a turnover by the Bruins, and they're finishing their chances, which the Boston Bruins, in my opinion, are not doing. Now, Coach Cassidy talked about, we're getting our chances. We're not executing when we need to and finish that. And then he talked about maybe like a big save here and there that could help us as well as along the line to get some energy going for our team. But this Carolina team has had a good year. They've been extremely fast. They're very talented. They had Rantanen get hurt last game, so it'll be interesting if he comes back, or will they stay with the same goalie that they had in their backup starting game 3 here in Boston tonight at 7 o'clock.
All right, should be interesting. And of course, we had some fans out there that thought we should have had Swayman in there from the beginning. And you can't really blame the goaltending altogether. You know what I mean? Because the play in front of him was not very good. You know what I mean? On the other hand, he didn't cost you the game, but it's not like he saved you the game either. You know what I mean? At this time of the year, especially with the kind of team that the Bruins have, my view is, I've been watching this for 50 years from Ken Dryden on. You need that stand on your head goalie, and that's what we have to get, and hopefully we'll get it tonight.
Yeah, I don't think Olmark has been outstanding. I don't think he's been really poor. I think, they've been poor in front of him. They've been challenged defensively from some heavy hits, some poor execution of getting the puck out of the zone, whether it's by the defenseman or even that chip up the boards and the wingers can't get it out. And then, of course, power plays are a killer. I don't care who you are. It's very difficult in the playoffs to stop these teams from scoring on the power play. And the Bruins have been pretty good at penalty killing, but Carolina has executed. Right now, 10 goals to 3 in favor of Carolina in the 2 games. Yeah, they need a better way to get things turned around. Hopefully they can execute better tonight, being home, maybe some home atmosphere, rev up the buildings, some good hard checking, some good forechecking of their own, and hopefully get some power plays to serve for them and get on the scoreboard.
So if you want to give us a call and join the conversation, please do at 774-762-6234. Give us a shout. Quick shout out to Butch Ferreira. Thank you for looking in today. And we also want to take the opportunity to thank a new sponsor, Scotty's Pub, located at 202 Pleasant Street in the great city of Fall River. Thank you very much for joining us. Citywide Glass at 425 State Road. There are actually premises at both Fall River and Taunton. So thank you very much for supporting our show here on Santos on Sports. We very much appreciate it.
Yeah, it's a great place, Paul, to watch sports. There's TVs everywhere at Scotty's Pub. And if you got some glass issues, don't be afraid to check out Citywide Glass, because I had a problem with my Jeep. He came right to my house, Paul. I wasn't able to make it to the place in Taunton or Dartmouth. They came right to my driveway and replaced my windshield right there.
Well, you get treated like a VIP right there, huh?
Yes, I did.
That doesn't happen too often, huh?
Nope, not too often at all. But I told him about the situation, and I said I won't be able to make it there for another day. He says, hey, don't worry about it. We will come to you. So they came to me and fixed that right out. So Citywide Glass. And if you want to watch the Bruins tonight, even the Red Sox, Scotty's Pub, tons of TVs, tons of IPAs and brews. Have yourself a great day over at Scotty's Pub on Pleasant Street in Fall River.
more TVs than Chris's man cave.
Yeah, absolutely. That's for sure.
And that's saying something.
Yes.
All right. So, gosh, I hate to see the Bruins eliminated so quickly. It's just, you and I have been talking about it. We'd like to see the Bruins and the Celtics go deep into the playoffs because
Yep.
obviously it gives us a lot of entertainment. And the Red Sox are taking a nosedive. Well, we have plenty of time to talk about them. Down 0-2 against a team that seems to be a better team. Obviously, you got the loss of the number 2 defenseman with that big crushing hit. How do you bounce back from that? I mean, they got the home crowd tonight. Obviously, you can win tonight, you can make it a series, but you really need to win the next 2, and it's going to have to be some big-time turnaround.
I would worry about tonight before I'd worry about the next game. This is a must-win for the Bruins. They have to win this game tonight. They got to find more energy. They got to get better production from their forward lines. And I'm not talking just about the first line. I'm talking everyone. And this is what Butch Cassidy said. And he came out and said, we need some of the guys who we lost last year, those guys who took their place, we need them to step up, and we need it now. Like a Krejci, like a Chara, some of them guys that they lost. What's taking their place, they need to come to the forefront. They need to show, hey, we can help out Marchand and Bergeron, Pastrnak, and get some goals. And again, finish chances, put the puck away, get it in the back of the net, and take an early lead, Paul. Let's see if Carolina can chase you instead of you always chasing Carolina. That's something I want to see tonight. Bruins score first. Get out early and get on top.
All right, let's go to the phones and say hello to John. He's on the line right now. Hello, you're on Santos on Sports.
Hi, Paul. Hi, Chris. John Sullivan here.
What's going on? Talk about a almost bottomless pit of hockey knowledge.
Well, all I can tell you is that I think tonight the Bruins are going to win.
Okay.
Yeah, I think coming back home and as Chris was mentioning, they got to score first. They got to come out. They got to get the fans involved. The other night in Carolina, the people were, the roof was ready to come off the place. That's how loud it was. So there's passionate fans down in Carolina, and I know these Bruins fans are ready for action.
Paul, here's something that you don't know, that John actually has a little affiliation with the Carolina Hurricanes. He played for the Greensboro Monarchs in the leagues, and that was the Carolina affiliation in 89 and 90. And a few years after that, Carolina went on and won the Stanley Cup. So, I know John's got a little pressure right now between Carolina and Boston. Who's he kind of rooting for? That's my key question for him.
Good point, Chris. And actually, like Greensboro Monarchs used to be like the Boston Bruins back in the day in 89, 90. That was their pro team for Carolina. There was also the Carolina Hurricanes, and obviously you've had Scotty Allen on before. He was the one that led me down there. And, we won a championship, and those fans are very passionate and loyal. And obviously 2 years ago when the Bruins played Carolina, I had the last laugh with my friends down in Carolina. But this year is going to be a little different. I think it's going to be a tough challenge for the Bruins. But I think the key to tonight is that perfection line. They're lacking scoring. What I noticed is that the 3 games that they played in the regular season, they only scored 1 goal against Carolina. And in the playoffs so far, they've only scored 3. So I think the key is getting their power perfection line back together, and they need to score early and often. And then with Swayman in net to change, the goaltending, I think that's going to help out the Bruins a lot. It's just having another face and another change, and it's all about adjustments now in the playoffs. You got to make key adjustments, and Cassidy seems to pull the right, push the right buttons at right time.
Well, let me ask you this, because for those who don't know, John, of course, was a great hockey player himself, as Chris alluded to, a hockey coach at New Bedford High School, also in the Dartmouth High School Hall of Fame, arguably the top talent to come out of Dartmouth High School. But, John's game, he wasn't afraid to play the physical card. And a lot of pundits are saying, well, this version of the Boston Bruins, unlike the 2011 Stanley Cup team, which could throw out a Lucic and, could throw out a Sean Thornton, they're lacking a little bit on the, drop the gloves and let's play a little more physical without taking the stupid penalty. Is there any merit to that argument?
Absolutely, and that's been the talk of the first two games. I mean, I was just talking to someone earlier this morning about it, who was a big bad Bruin fan back in the 70s, and that goes way back. But even the 2011 team, like you say, there was a lot of toughness and grit, and that's one of the things the Bruins have lacked the first two games. They can't get to the front of the net because all I keep hearing about these big defensemen. So you are right, Paul. I think the key to tonight is setting the tone early with some big checks, like a guy like Fedrick, the fourth line Lazard. They got to come out slamming people. That they're going to get that crowd going, and which will obviously put a lot of pressure on the Carolina Hurricanes for their transition, and hopefully they create turnovers and they get more scoring chances. But yeah, the physical play, the Bruins, especially last year, I thought that was the key on why they lost last year, was they got knocked around. I still say it. I thought that McAvoy saved Chara's career for 3 years. I thought he was all done. But one thing now they're missing without Chara is that physical presence. Like when you get to the front of the net, you see a guy 6'8", you're not going to do too much to McAvoy or somebody, or even like a guy like Carlo who's taken a couple of bangs. So we need somebody in the Bruins team to step up tonight and be that enforcer, and that I think is Fedrick, the left winger there.
John, if you don't have the physicality that they've had in the past, a lot of teams turn to speed. I don't think the Bruins can match Carolina in speed. So I think they have to find some of these guys to step up their game, and that's third and fourth line to make a big impression, as you said, to find some physicality, even though it's not their style, but really hit, to come out and then set the tone, and then let the second line and the first line do their thing. Do you agree with that?
That is a must tonight. They need to play physical. And they might have to change their forecheck. You know what I mean? Because it seems like the speed of the game is a lot faster Carolina way. Because the Bruins, they're fast and everything, but how do you slow someone down? You got to knock them down. You know what I mean? And I think that's the key, like you say, guys, is that we got to play physical. You don't have to get in fights left and right here. The game has changed. But we got to play physical tonight. We got to play below the dots in the offensive zone and win battles and But I think that the change of the lines is going to increase scoring. That's what I see by putting Pasternak back together with Marchand, because Marchand has been quiet lately scoring wise, and I think that's going to help increase his chances too, because now they've been shutting down Marchand and Bergeron and keying on those guys, and now you put Pasternak back there. It's going to open up some ice, and hopefully that'll give them more scoring chances.
Well, you predicted that you thought they might win tonight. I hope so, because I'm actually going up to the game, so I hope I'm not wasting my time.
Well,
but the atmosphere should be great.
Yes, it definitely should be.
But
and
even if they do win tonight, right, it's still a tall order winning 4 out of 5 against this team. So what is a legitimate chance of that happening?
Yeah, it's a tough road, Paul. I mean, I'm pulling for the Bruins just like you are and Chris. But I can tell you that 2 years ago, I was told, watch out for Carolina, and Bruins sailed right by them. You know what I mean? And now I understand what somebody was saying 2 years ago about this team. They're 2 years older. They got more experience now. They're more of a veteran team. And then, it comes down to hot goaltending. They had a goalie in net that had to get replaced and everything in the game. But, in playoff hockey, it's all about the special teams, and it's all about a goaltender. I can tell you, when we won that championship, the goalie at the time, he was on the contract, I can't think of his name right now, but he was the backbone of our championship. He stopped everything. He was like a brick wall. And that is the key. When you have a hot goalie and you capitalize like special teams on power plays, you're going to win a lot of hockey games. So I like the Bruins' chances tonight in the series. Gretzky's is picking Carolina to win the Stanley Cup.
Wow.
I disagree. I personally think out of the East, I mean, it's one of the Florida teams. It's either Tampa Bay or Florida. I mean, they're the Stanley Cup champs back to back, right? Tampa Bay.
Mm-hmm.
So you can't count those two teams out. I mean, I'd love for the Bruins to win the Stanley Cup, but reality is that these teams are getting better, each of them. Like these Southern teams, for some reason, they just keep getting better and better.
All right, John, we really appreciate you taking a few minutes. I hope that you're right about tonight's game, and if you can win tonight, hey, at least you make a series out of it.
Exactly. Well, thank you for having me on your show, and enjoy the night, and go Bruins.
All right, thanks very
John.
much.
Okay, Chris.
All right, John Sullivan. And, it's interesting because he mentioned about, how when he won that championship, that it really was partly the goalie standing on his head and everything. And, when you think about the Bruins championship in 2011, Tim Thomas just playing out of his mind. And you can use even Carolina when they went with Cam Ward. You just think about these goalies that Ken Dryden, Bernie Perrant back in the 70s, Marc-Andre Fleury for your Pittsburgh. He played tremendous in that, couple of runs to the Stanley Cup. So, nothing against old Mark, but, he wasn't giving you the stand on your head. You know what I mean? And of course, the team was playing terrible in front of him. So I think you need the team to play better in front of him, special teams, all that John said. But on top of that, icing on the cake, got to have the goaltending.
Yeah, and it's not like Carolina has played tremendous with, Frederik Andersen is hurt for them. They got Antti Ratner in there. It's not like he's been Ken Dryden and diving all over the place. But, he's had some good stops, and the Bruins – again, have to finish their chances a little bit better than what they've done. And that's what Cassidy has really alluded to, saying that, these scores are not really what this games have been about. We're right there with them. They're just finishing what they need to, and we're not. So I think he's relying more on that offense than he is his goaltending right now.
All right, let's go back to the phones. Good afternoon. You're on Santos on Sports.
Gentlemen, how are you?
Good. How are you?
Very good, sir. Very good. Well, Paul, I know everybody's talking about the Bruins going to get back to Boston, get back to the Garden. I don't see it. I tell you, unless you're coming over the top glass tonight and going to play a little goal and stymie Carolina, I'm not sure what home field, home ice advantage is going to do for us.
I can't stand on my head.
I just don't. I just don't see they're going to need more than home ice. And I got to tell you, I don't think it's the goaltending.
Right.
I agree with you that Tim Thomas stood on his head and just stymied other teams, and I think that's what it takes. But we're not getting beat by one goal here in overtime. We're getting crushed. It's almost like men against boys, and it's kind of disappointing. But some of us saw this coming. I think, once they made the Bruins could beat anyone on any given night. But when it comes to a series, especially in the playoffs, I don't think they can do it. They'd have to win 16 games. Can the Bruins win 16 games out of who's in the playoffs?
Probably not. But, Billy Jaffe talked about they're an injury away that's really going to hurt them, and not having Lindholm is really going to hurt them tonight. And something that Carolina does well, they get on top of you quickly. They're fast. They're big. And when you do that, you put a lot of pressure on the D to get the puck out or make turnovers. And then obviously you need your wings to help you as well. And that's something that the Bruins really are going to have to work on. So I'm curious to see the pairings tonight, what Cassidy's going to do with that. Without Lindholm, we already know he's not going to be in game 3. So I'm kind of curious when they come out, who's going to be paired with who. And then I'm going to keep an eye on, obviously, how they do in their own zone. Because me and you, Caller, have talked about this many a times, that the Bruins have had a tough year turning the puck over quite frequently when they've been by themselves or when they have been pressured. And they need to clean that up and do a better job.
Yeah. Billy Jaffe did talk about injuries, and he thought that we didn't have the depth to sustain, any major injuries. And guess what? We had one, especially and I think the weakest point of the Bruins attack, which is on the defensive side. Mm-hmm. And here, we lose Lindholm, which, who's gonna play now? Who they bring up with the pairings is now there's, it's just. It's
Riley's the person who is going to get back into the lineup tonight.
Right, they have him with McAvoy. I just saw, as a matter of fact.
So that's what it looks like. Yes.
Yeah. A caller. It's interesting because I wanted to talk just quickly about the way you heard the caller that we talked to before, the former coach of New Bedford and so forth, John Sullivan, talk about the physical part of the game. And I'm a big Pasternak fan, right? But boy, the playoffs really highlight his deficiencies. Everybody has an Achilles heel. I mean, he can't carry the puck without turning it over. He can't carry the puck without turning it over at the worst possible time. There was one goal where they flipped the puck up the boards. He wouldn't even put the body on the guy to stop the puck from going by him on the boards. He has no presence along the wall. He doesn't, hold that stick hard, or, they say play strong on the stick and all that. And, during a regular season, it doesn't really matter because that's not how the game is played. And he's an elite talent. Don't get me wrong. He's an elite talent. But boy, his weaknesses are definitely exposed in the style of play in the playoffs. It's really too bad to see that because, there's a couple of times they said, well, he had a bad playoff or he hurt his thumb or this and that. Now this is a recurring theme. I mean, he's just a turnover machine out there.
I agree with you. I agree that, it's a different game in the playoffs. And I do agree with you that that is not his forte, playing both ways. It's not. And I think they've silenced him. I think we haven't even heard DeBrusk's name. Of course, no one's really scored, so there's not anybody getting any assists. But where's DeBrusk been in the playoffs? With all these guys that had, coming into the playoffs were sort of on their game and were, I don't want to say hot, but, they were playing well, forechecking, getting some pucks, scoring some goals, getting some assists. Now Carolina has just disrupted all of that production, and it's rather impressive. I don't see anybody beating Carolina, but we'll see what happens. It's kind of early to call that, but I thought Carolina was very, very strong during the season, and just playoffs. It's like a tune-up for them almost as well.
Well, there's a lot of players in the NHL, and you all have different kind of styles. And obviously, Pasta's style is not physicality. Pasta's style is speed, get to open ice, use that shot, an elite goal scorer. You can talk about, and I'm not comparing him to Gretzky by no means, but Gretzky never touched the soul. Sebastian Aho doesn't really touch many people. There's certain players that just fit a certain style. And that's the way Pasternak is. So teams have to live with that. And when you live with that, you get other guys on that line that help you. Where Taylor Hall needs to grind more. Where Marchand needs to grind more. Another name we have not heard much about so far in the two games. So there's different ways to approach that. And then when you're a coach, you know what you have in front of you. And you know how you conduct your lines. So you have grinders. You have goal scorers. You have guys with finesse. You have guys who attack. A lot of different ways to do it. So that's just how Pasta is. And there's a lot of guys like that on different teams. That's how you set them apart.
That's a good point. I do agree with that statement or that comparison or that theory. You're right. Gretzky really never, he wasn't banging anyone around. I thought, though, that he skated hard. He came back and back-checked very well. He wasn't knocking anybody off the puck, but I think being strong with the stick is another good point. I think you and I have talked about that, where I think some of those deficiencies have surfaced as well with the Bruins. But it's not. I mean, it's not like we're tremendously shocked at this. I did think that we would see some closer 2-1, 3-1, maybe 4-2. Some closer games, more competitive games, but. I think Jaffe hit it right on the head. You could tell with his tone and with the things that he talked about that, there was concern for seeing the Bruins, move along through the playoffs.
All right. We really appreciate your calls every single time. Very insightful, very enjoyable, and we hope to talk to you again.
Excellent. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you very much. One of the things I wanted to differentiate there was, with Gretzky and some of these other skilled players, you don't see him coughing up the puck either, though. You know what I mean? That's another thing that, like this Pasta boy, he just coughs up the puck at the worst possible time. And that he does during the regular season too. But in the regular season games, you don't really think about it, or it doesn't seem to hurt them as badly.
I know he scores a lot, and I know the caller would say this too. He misses the net an awful lot. He has a lot of chances. And people talk about, getting that puck on net. And when you're a sniper, you go for certain spots. But there are times, man, he's got some looks and he just rifles it over the head of the goalie, and he misses his chances sometimes as well. So, not putting everything on Pastrnak, but the team has to become a better team unit, get more production from second and third lines if they have any chance to stay in this series. And obviously it starts tonight. So it's a big game. There's no doubt about it.
John, how are you? John Raleigh on the line.
I'm very well. Thank you for having me. I'd like to start off by. Hi, Paul. How are you?
Yeah, good. How are you?
Good. Yep.
Turn your phone down in the background.
All right, hold on.
Or turn your computer down in the background, I should say.
I set the computer off.
Remember they used to say that in the old.
I've seen enough of Chris Santos in the last game.
Thanks, Coach. Appreciate it.
I'd like to start out by going back to game one. And the Bruins come out strong. Granted, they didn't score, but they're playing right with Carolina. They're carrying the play.
Yep.
One thing leads to another. Carolina goes up 1-0. Carolina goes up 2-0. I think the start of the third period. Early in the third period, Taylor Hall scores to cut it to 2-1. You remember that?
Yes.
Yep.
Right. Very next shift, Taylor Hall's out in the ice. He rings one off the crossbar.
Yes.
Yep.
And that could have made it 2-2, and we'd be talking about an entirely different series. But it didn't happen, and the game got away from us, and the game on Wednesday got away from us, and a couple of thoughts. The Bruins just don't have enough of sandpaper to win in the playoffs. There are some organizations that are built for the regular season, and then there's some organizations that are built for the playoffs. And I hate to say it because I live and die with the Bruins, but hey, there's no Adam McQuaid back on that blue line. There's no Johnny Boychuk. There's no Kevin Miller even. And where I'll be quite frank. I think we're pretty soft back there. Lindholm, very skilled player, but it does not surprise me that he got knocked out of this series the way Carolina plays, and with Riley playing with Charlie McAvoy tonight, you might see Charlie McAvoy carted off the way Carolina plays, because they're going to be coming right after him.
Yeah, I agree, Coach. And and Butch Cassidy said what you said. We're in the games, and if we had some of those moments where we finished our chances, yes, we could be talking about something different. Now, even though that's happened, he's made two changes. He's going to change the first one with Swayman going in goal, and the second one, he's going to continue with the perfection line, which he tinkled with in the second game. Do you see, if that was you, would you do the same thing? Would you do energy by putting Swayman in? And would you put Pasta back with those two guys, even though he hasn't played with them much in the second half of the season? What would you do there?
I definitely would put Swayman right in goal, and
Okay.
and pray that the kid just holds the fort early on, because I think Carolina's going to come right after us tonight.
Mhm.
And if Swayman to me could steal a game more than Olmark could, just the way they play. All right, Olmark makes me nervous. He's played well, and I don't blame the series on him. But we need our goaltender to play above and beyond at this point. I disagree with the Pasta move. Pasternak is obviously, his injury from a couple weeks ago is still lingering. He drives me crazy turning the puck over, especially on the power play. The last place I want to see him on the power play is up near the blue line, because nothing good's going to happen. But clearly he's avoiding contact, and you can't in a Stanley Cup playoff game avoid contact. But see, I think Pasternak has plays very well with Taylor Hall and vice versa. So you put Pasta up with Marchand and Bergeron. Hey, they're going to go against Stahl's line where anytime Brendan Moore can get them out there, and that's going to neutralize our three top scorers. I think we need some balance here. I'd like to see something. I'd like to see something out of the third line too. Charlie Coyle. I mean, he's a should be a huge factor in this series. Smith has got to get scoring. Sully was all for Frederick. Well, if you want a bad penalty, leave Frederick out there. I mean, he's got to control his emotions.
A lot of times they use the phrase, game of inches. And I'm glad you brought that up about game one, because, that point after Hall had made it 2-1, not only did he hit the post, but there was a play where another shot went around the boards, and Grizzly pinched for some reason. And there was probably like 13 minutes left in the game, went right by him. And it was a 2-on-1. It was in our net, and basically the game was over. Now, if the Bruins could have stole that first game, even though they're the inferior team, even though they don't have enough sandpaper, even though they're getting pushed around a little bit, if they just could have gone down to Carolina and stole that game, right? You've seen it before. You've had teams that were the better team that still lost. You probably had teams, I remember having the inferior team and you still won. So sometimes that can happen, especially in an individual game.
Well, yeah. We didn't have too many inferior teams, I can tell you that much. We had really good players. And that's the reason why we won, really good players. But, okay, we're down 2 games tonight, all right? If we can win tonight, gain some momentum going into Sunday, you never know. The Bruins in 2 other series in their past have been down 2-0 early. As a matter of fact, one year, I forget, maybe it was Toronto, they lost the first 2 games at home and still ended up winning the series.
Mm-hmm. That can happen.
So it could happen, and hey, I'm looking for Charlie Coyle to step up tonight. I'm looking for Bergeron to improve on his face-off win percentage. I'm looking for Marchand to play a smart game and forget about all the nonsense. We get guys who could step up and help get the Bruins a win tonight. Plus, hey, we've got the Boston Garden behind us. I think that's going to be a huge help too, playing at home. And I expect Paul Santos to lead the way.
Well, I'm going to be there, so I hope I didn't waste my money going up there tonight.
No. Hey, do what you have to do.
Hey, Coach, if you're Butch Cassidy and you go into the locker room before the game, do you say those things right there individually, what you would like to see? Or do you do that off to the side and you just talk about the team before the game?
You don't sing a lot of any individual anymore.
Yep.
That'd be it for you as a coach. Now you talk to guys individually.
Yep.
And I'm sure they've had these conversations, and hey, you talk to the group as a team, and lay out what you expect from them right from the get-go. And hey, you're going to see it tonight. Todd Angeli finishes that national anthem, and the place will be electric. I don't know who's going to wave the banner. I'm not sure if Bobby Orr is back from Jupiter, Florida yet or not, but the Garden and the Let's Go Bruins. I think that's going to help us tonight.
Oh, the atmosphere is so great in these situations.
Yeah. I mean, that Carolina crowd, what can I tell you? They, what do they know about hockey down there? I mean, Sully hit the nail on the head.
All right, Coach Raleigh. Hey, we really appreciate you taking a few minutes, and hopefully the Bruins can keep this going deep into next week and see what happens, starting with tonight, of course.
Well, here's my wish. I think we can do this. I think we can come back and beat Carolina. I'm not sure the Penguins can beat the Rangers, though, because that's the next matchup.
All right,
Carolina
Coach.
winner versus the Rangers Penguins winner. So I'm praying we can hold our end of the bargain, and some other guy that's hosting the show, we'll see if his team can hold their end of the bargain.
All right, thanks, John. Always a pleasure.
Take care, man.
All right, bye-bye.
Thanks, Coach.
All right, for those who don't know, Chris Santos, a big Pittsburgh Penguin fan. So Coach Riley, getting a last-second hip check in there before he signed up.
Oh yeah, he's got. He put in that little dig. I understand. I knew exactly where he was going with that one, and I expected it. But we are 1-1. At least we took a game over at MSG. So hopefully we can go home and find a way to get a couple more there. They got a very good team with Zibanejad and Kreider and Kopp. He's played real well. Panarin does a good job. And Chiziskin in goal. He's been outstanding this year for the Rangers. So we fought hard in that first one to win in double overtime. Lost yesterday. Had some chances, but the Rangers are a good team. I had them at the beginning being the sleeper team. I was hoping we didn't face them in the first round, but we are. Hopefully, with our experience with Malkin and Crosby, we can get things going again at home and get back to our winning ways. So, it's 1-1. We'll see what happens there.
All right, shout out to Bobby O'Brien, who's looking in tonight. Thank you very much for looking in on Santos on Sports. We did have a caller, I think, that was trying to call in when we had one of our guest callers on the line.
Okay.
So here's your chance. We got about 15 minutes left.
Yeah.
At 774-762-6234. Give us a call. And thanks to Scotty's Pub of 202 Pleasant Street, Fall River, for being a sponsor to Santos on Sports, along with Citywide Glass. We really appreciate that. 2 locations in Fall River and Taunton.
Yep. And on 425 State Road in Dartmouth. So he's got 3 locations. But I know John, who works over there in Swansea, maybe on his way back from work there, Paul, he might stop in at Fall River and watch maybe the first period of the Bruins over at Scotty's Pub.
Yeah, that sounds like a good idea. Can't turn that down.
No.
Hey, Coach Raleigh, I was telling him, hey, sometimes the inferior team wins, and maybe that happened one time when you were coach. He said, no, I never had an inferior team. Yeah, he did have some great teams, and of course he was a great coach. And hey, those banners that are hanging up there at Headland speak for themselves.
Absolutely, and it's good to get an insight, Paul, from a player who we got with John, and then you get an insight from a coach, and you see where both are going, and what John thought about the players and what they needed to do, and obviously what Coach Raleigh thought about what Cassidy might say and do, and what he would like to see from the different players as well. So you get a player's point of view and you get a coaching point of view. And it was excellent to have both of them on here this afternoon.
The coach talked about it, Raleigh did, about that first period of the first game, right?
Yeah.
And I'm watching this game and I'm thinking to myself, wow, this is fantastic. It was a 0-0 period. It went up and down. Both teams were playing hard. They were both getting chances. The crowd was going wild on every little play or every little pass. And I was thinking, wow, that's why a lot of people say, even fans of other sports who like other sports better than they like hockey, they will say that hockey in the playoffs, it's really hard to compare it.
Yeah. No, it really is a different feeling from the moment you drop the puck, because the energy in the building is just a lot different than it is in the regular season. And the crowd is really into it from the moment they drop the puck. They all have towels and they're waving them. They're oohing and ahhing on every check, every penalty, every ring post, every goal. It's just exciting time. And obviously, when there's more than one game on, and whether you're watching the Bruins and then it's the Rangers and the Penguins, it's the Panthers and the Capitals, just everything's happening. And you're seeing it throughout all the games. It's just so much fun.
And, in that first game of the first period, I thought the Bruins were right there with Carolina. I mean, I was only one period, and that wasn't a big sample size. But I was worried about Carolina going into the series, as we all were. And then I thought to myself, wow, the Bruins they're right there with them, right there in their rink. And so I'm thinking, well, if it stays like this game's going to be a toss-up. Well, it didn't turn out that way. But that first period and even halfway into the second period, I thought the Bruins were right there, at least for a little while.
Yeah, and that's all you can ask for when you're on the road in hostile territory, to hang in there and see what happens. Maybe you can get a fluke goal. Maybe you can take the lead on them and make them chase you at home, things like that. You ring the goalposts. They win game one, we could be talking a lot different. Now you're down 0-2. Again, I think it's a must-win tonight. You got to get out there, score first, make them chase you. And you got to do the right things. Hopefully a big save here and there. Get the crowd behind you. Get the first goal, and get some excitement and some energy in the building. And then see how it goes and make adjustments on the fly.
All right, let's see what our next caller thinks. Good afternoon. You're on Santos on Sports.
Hey, guys. How's it going?
Yeah, good. How are you?
Doing great. So, oh boy, call me the negative Nelly here, but I definitely think that this series is over. In terms of physicality, speed, I just feel like we haven't been showing up. Guys like McAvoy are getting splattered in the corner, and the only way that we're responding is a few scuffles here and there. And I want to talk a little bit about kind of the future after this season, because I had seen some stuff floating around about the possibility of Don Sweeney possibly being out, because if I remember correctly, his contract I guess runs out after this season. That they haven't extended that. And to be honest, I'd be a bit happy if he was gone at this point, because some of the only big swings that he's made is through these trades. Hampus Lindholm, Taylor Hall last season. But in terms of the draft, he hasn't been all that good. I'm trying to remember which draft it was. I think it was 2015, where they had three chances at a guy like Matt Barzal, who's with the Islanders now. So it's just been a lot of swings and misses there.
No, I agree. And then you also have to filter in, what's left in Bergeron, what's left in some of these guys who are in their 30s, which is a lot more different than obviously when you're in your 20s. What they're going to do with Coils and Smiths and guys like that, because they're catching up in age too. So that does have a lot to do with it. That's something that they will have to really put into perspective at the end of the season. I agree with you that Carolina is the better team right now. Am I thinking that the Bruins can come out and do something? We've seen them in the past, yes. For a game, yes. Can they do it more than that? That's where I kind of lose it. So the energy could come forward. You might see it tonight. You might see them win a game. I'm just wondering if they can sustain it for game 4. Can they sustain it after that? That's where I have the issue with the Bruins, because I always think they can play one great game against anybody in the league. And it can be tonight. I'm just wondering if they can do it after that.
Exactly. Yeah. At this point, I'm just hoping for, not a sweep. That's what I'm hoping for. Just to take one of these games home. And I think you had mentioned too, some of these older guys, like who knows what's going to happen with Bergeron, and Brad Marchand's aging. Kind of going back to the Don Sweeney point for a second. If there's kind of a new regime, I guess, at GM, is it a guarantee that Bruce Cassidy is going to stick around. I certainly hope he does because I like him as a coach. I just haven't been all that good with the roster building.
Yeah, right. Usually when there's a new GM, just about everybody else falls by the wayside. By the way, I'm glad to see that you guys are already writing the epitaph here. I'm just getting ready to leave to drive up to the game, and you guys are already like, you got the chisel out with the epitaph, and it's like, well, the poor Bruins in 2022, they almost made it, but I agree, it's an uphill climb, and there probably will be big changes, but hey, that's why they play the games. You never know. That there's been some big upsets and big come from behind wins that nobody ever would have thought. Hey, it's a long shot. You know what I mean? But hey, there will be. You're right, Ryan. There will be big changes if things go south because, obviously you want to get to the playoffs, which is what management always says: make the playoffs because I want to, make some money. The Jacobs family wants to make some money in the playoffs. But if you only have 2 home games, that doesn't really help you too much.
It doesn't help you at all. At this point, I'm just going in with the attitude of, hey, just play it out, see what happens.
Let's win tonight,
but just play it out.
Yeah, let's win tonight and go from there. All right, Ryan. Thank you very much for calling, and we hope to talk to you again.
Talk to you guys later. Thank you so much for having me on.
Thanks, Ryan.
Thank you. Thank you for calling. Bye bye. All right. Well, well. Let's take a crack at this. Let's see what happens. I wonder if they're going to hand out those, those little cloths that you wave around and all that, for whatever good that'll do. We could be, the sixth man, right? The sixth man.
I expect to see it on the next show, Paul. When you bring it home, you're going to go like this, and you're going to have it in front of the camera, and you're going to be waving it, and you're going to be excited, and so expect to get one of those probably tonight. But again, I'm not writing out the Bruins just yet. I still think they're due for a big game, and hopefully it's tonight for them. Look, Toronto beat Tampa in the first game, so they got to win. The Capitals beat Florida the first game. They got to win. And those are 2 underdogs. Dallas beat Calgary in a game. They got to win. So, there's some teams out there that are showing some grit, and I don't see why the Bruins can't do it for one game, at least tonight, and hopefully they can show it.
All right, and of course, tomorrow the Celtics play in Game 3. That series is 1-1. Celtics with a great performance in Game 2. Totally different situation. We'll get on that next week because I think there's a real good chance that the Celtics will still be around the next show that we do. The Bruins, I'm not sure.
Well, the Celtics have to be careful because they can't let Giannis dictate this series. They have to get physical with him. I don't care how they do it. They cannot let him get physical on them and dictate the play, because when he does that, not only does he score his amount of points, but his physical play now opens the gaps because now you have to double team him, and then he dishes out to Holiday, Portis, and some of these other guys, then they get their points. So it's either let Giannis score what he gets, make sure we take care of the other players, or you get physical with Giannis and you get all over him as they did in Game 2. And then, again, don't play iso ball, play team ball. And when they play like that, not that they're unbeatable, but they're very, very good. And they need to continue that. So going to Milwaukee, I want to see how they handle the Giannis better than they did Game 1. Hey, listen, Paul, they lost Game 1, but they shot horribly. I think they were like 23%. They couldn't make anything, and it didn't matter who came in to try to spark them. You even texted me and said, geez, even Pritchard can't hit anything.
Yeah.
Nobody was hitting anything that day. So hopefully they've gotten away from their worst shooting game. They put that behind them, and they get better moving forward.
What do you think about this debate that's going on whereby some analysts say that the Bucks kind of really protect the rim really well and they just dare you to shoot the three? And they tell you, hey, you want to shoot 50% of the time from three or something ridiculous? Go ahead, because you're not going to be hot every night. What about that?
And that's a good way of thinking about it if you're not great three-point shooters. So that first game, you could say they lived and died by the three, and they weren't able to do it, and they shot very poor. But I don't really want to see the Celtics taking 53 pointers. I want to see more to the basket, fight hard in there, work on those 18, 20 footers instead of, and maybe they got caught into the trap and they got caught into Milwaukee saying, go ahead, take them and see what you can do with it. And which they showed a little bit different, obviously, in game 2. So, yeah, I think that's correct. I think the analysts are right on saying, let's see them do that. Now, obviously, if you start to make some of them, now it forces Milwaukee to come out, and then you start to play back low again in the low and high game more than the high-low game.
All right, we appreciate those who called in on our Santos on Sports and also those making comments on the comments line. Thanks to Scotty's Pub and Citywide Glass for sponsoring our show tonight. And hopefully the Bruins can come up with a win tonight, keep that series going, make it a series, and, make my ticket worthwhile.
Well, Paul, like I said, they must score first, in my opinion.
Absolutely,
to be
100%.
They have to get on board. They got to make Carolina chase, who hasn't. And remember, if Rantanen doesn't play, if he doesn't play, now they have their third-string goalie in. Like the Penguins, their third-string goalie. Yari's out, the Smith's out, Domingo's in the game. If they have that in the game, get shots on goal. Make him make big saves. Hopefully he gives up some rebounds, crash the net, work hard physicality, down there low, show some grit, as Carolina has done to Boston on Omak, and they've had some of them nice goals right in on him. The Bruins need to do that, score first, and get on top.
And get a hold of some of those rebounds in those dirty areas.
Well, yeah, absolutely. And things happen in there. You could get penalties, now you got power plays. It could deflect off someone. Next thing you know, it goes behind the guy. A lot of things have to happen. But if you don't put shots on net, Gretzky said it, you're never going to win a game 100% of the shots that never hit the net. So he's correct in saying it. You got to find a way to make that goalie stand on his head and get on top of him. And then obviously in your zone, defense is defense. It is what it is. Let's see how the pairings go. If McAvoy goes with Riley and then keep the rest of the pairs the way they are, they can't turn it over. They have to have it better and force Carolina, to chase you.
All right, Chris, thank you. And again, thanks to former UMass Dartmouth legendary coach John Riley for calling in, and also former New Bedford High coach and also Dartmouth Hall of Famer and former member of the, ironically, the Columbus organization back in the old days, back in AHL days, Mr. John Sullivan for chiming in.
Yeah,
for my partner,
Monarchs.
Yes, exactly. For my partner, Chris Santos, I am Paul Santos. Have a great afternoon.